What's up, Copy Squad? It's your boy Kyle Milligan coming to you with a sales letter breakdown. And today I wanted to try something a little different, something I've never done before, and that is try to analyze my own work as an independent third party. What I have in front of me is the most recent draft of a promo that I'm working on for my new company, Wealth Press. Not my company, but the company I work with. And I thought, well, let's kind of go through the lead and make sure we're checking all the boxes. It's really easy to kind of get lost in the mix of writing everything up and kind of overlooking the important stuff while you're kind of like chugging along and being, in the trenches. So I thought, I'll look at this as if we're looking at anything else. There's no headline, and the lead is kind of just like a basic generic pattern interrupt. This is almost like a placeholder lead. This is a lead that we can dress up however we want. We can basically just change that first line into anything. So I'll kind of talk about that. We'll dive in and just see if this is something that is useful or worthwhile. I'm going to give it 1 second. I think I posted in the group. Oh snap, I didn't tell everyone to go look. So I'm posting in our Copy Squad inner circle for anyone who wants to see. We can dress up how... Yep, okay, cool, it's working, it's live. All right. So this should mean everybody can now come in and check it out and watch me kind of do this. Okay, but yeah, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm just kind of winging it, and we're going to see if this is useful, breaking down my work. And it's a rough draft. Like, this isn't something ready to go. So let's kind of start there. And how about, yeah, we know this is going to be marked up. Actually, let's just save a second copy of it as a marked up copy. So we'll go to... here, and we'll go marked up. Okay, cool. I was wondering how this will go. And again, what's really nerve-wracking for me is it's not finished. Like, there's so much work probably still to be done. So, I don't know, I just want to try it. Maybe it's useful. All right. So there's no headline to break down. So we're going to dive straight in. We have pattern interrupt. And, the important thing we're kind of looking for in a pattern interrupt is just to simply give them something to look at. Like, take a look at this. Something that you can point to and they have to see with their eyes. You can't just tell them about it. You have to look at it. So with the words, here it is, here's what I kind of see is our guy Roger Scott is sitting at a desk, and he has like a digital clock timer thing like right in front of him, like digital green type or green numbers or whatever. All right, and he points to that. Here it is, right? This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to track specific stocks that have gone on the clock. Okay, so already this is kind of like a little bit of a mechanism. This is like our mechanism. Once a stock goes on the clock, the timer can predictably count down to incredible market paydays. Once the stock goes on the clock, the timer can predictably count down to incredible market paydays. So there might be something there. It's hard to look at this as not myself and try to look at it from like a objective third party. Let's start over. Here it is, my life's work. This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to track specific stocks that have gone on the clock. Once a stock goes on the clock, the timer can predictably count down to incredible market paydays. In fact, we've already seen windfalls of $4,090 in 14 days, $11,850 in 10 days, and even $21,500 in just 14 days. And as you're about to see, these explosions are so predictable you can set your watch by them. I know, this sounds crazy, but this is only possible thanks to a recent Wall Street shift that's unlike anything I have ever seen in my 25-year career. Financial Times says this trend shows no signs of abating. An institutional investor is predicting a period of massive change and disruption. So I think right here we have an opportunity for more teasing. Like we just say it's a massive Wall Street shift. But this is only possible thanks to a recent Wall Street shift that's unlike anything I've seen in my 25-year career. Yeah, I think we could put one more sentence there and then give the proof. Like, we're introducing it here, and then the next thing we're missing is a claim. So we need to make a claim here and say it's giving us like an opportunity to make, I'm not sure what goes here yet. Financial Times says this trend shows, because what's the value? There's no value in this proof. Okay, so we got to remember the tried and true formulas: objection, claim, proof, benefit. And this is a little early in the copy to be dropping objection, claim, proof, benefit, which is basically a body copy sort of formula. But I can tell you that without any sort of, we talked about this in the V3 trader with money map, when you're making all these pieces of proof on the first, man, what was it, 3 pages? They were just dropping proof, 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 and I was kind of like, whoa, I don't care about any of this proof. Like, you keep dropping all this information and data, but what's in it for me? And they never got to that. So needs a what's in it for me, right? Proof has no value without a claim, and what's in it for me, okay? So I think there's a weakness that we can address right away. But notice that we kind of have, a big promise within the first couple lines. This is something I'm very big on. We've got our pattern interrupt, okay? We've got a mechanism, which we use the dark purple for mechanism. All right, we got a mechanism, the timer. And we address this skepticism by introducing a catalyst. So we have a lot happening here in the first paragraph right here, zoomed in. We got the mechanism that makes it possible. So once a stock goes on the clock, the timer can predictably count down to incredible market paydays. We've already seen windfalls. So the timer counts down. The timer delivers the big promise, right? And I know this sounds crazy, right? So the first thing they're going to say is bullcrap. I don't believe you. That's a lie, or it's not true. It's not possible. So how is this possible? And this is something we're setting up what we're going to address later in the sales letter, right? Because we're going to have to explain how the mechanism works. We're going to have to explain how is it possible. What has caused, why now is another good question. Okay, so we got all that kind of figured out here early, and this is very important in the lead. Okay, let's see if we got anybody watching. I can close this. DW, what up, buddy? And I think I've got audio coming back through something. Oh, there we go, get rid of that. What up, Dan? That's Dan Westbrook, right? What's up, partner? So yeah, we're looking at some of my own work right now. It's very nerve-wracking to have my work exposed like this. This is a rough draft. Anyway. Okay, so we're teasing about this catalyst right now. So we're talking about there's a big event. There's some sort of shift has happened. And now we kind of got to make that seem real. While most investors will panic, folks with my proprietary timers could collect predictable market paydays like clockwork, right? So we've got the timer, and then we have the big promise, collect predictable market paydays. Now, also something we can kind of look into is, how well am I addressing new, easy, safe, and big? New and only. Okay, so let's go over this. Like, am I hitting on the key elements in these first couple words? Like, this is the most important part of the letter, right? So, is it new? Here it is, my life's work. So we've kind of got an only element, okay, right there. This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to track specific stocks that have gone on the clock. There might be a better way to word that, but that's a benefit, right? Once a stock goes on the clock, the timer can predictably count down to incredible market paydays. So this wording in these first couple lines, I can tell, will need to be sharpened. It's kind of bulky, and it doesn't really, the words aren't very emotional in my opinion. I don't know, what do you guys think? So we've got proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to track So maybe do I introduce on the clock first? Has the power to track specific stocks that have gone on the clock? Or do I say, and has the power to predictably count down to incredible market paydays? This is what I call a stock going on the clock. So I think maybe I want to do something more like that. That's more impactful, where we kind of get, so what we can say is, has the power to predictably count down to incredible market paydays. And then you say, which is a phenomenon, right? Something like that, a phenomenon I refer to as a stock goes on the clock. Something like that, right? So that's a little more powerful, right? This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to predictably count down to incredible market paydays, a phenomenon which I have labeled as a stock going on the clock, right? So that's a bunch. Yeah. So we got 1 and then 2. So that order seems a lot more punchy, right? Don't you think so? All right. So then I say, isn't available anywhere in the world, has the power to predictably count down to incredible market paydays, a phenomenon which I call a stock going on the clock. Once a stock goes on the clock, you can collect. Once a stock goes on the clock, no, we've already seen that when a stock goes on the clock, you can collect windfalls. So boom, that's so much better. Then that's something we've already seen happen. It's something that's already been done. This isn't just something we're making up, okay? So we say once a stock goes on the clock, and they put that right there. We've already seen windfalls like this, this, and this. So what we're doing here, now we're coming back to the new easy, safe, and big, right? So when we use words like already seen, that means it's safe and predictable. Like this is something that's already been done before. We've already seen, and this is, look at what I'm doing here. Big, fast. Big, fast. Big, fast. So we've covered new and only right here, right? This is something that just happened. We've got safe and predictable. We've got big and fast. So what we're missing here is a little bit of ease, but we're going to dive right into that in a second here. As you're about to see, these explosions are so predictable, you can set your watch by them. So this is something I haven't talked about before, but this is something that I got from Made to Stick, and I'm going to refer to it as the proverb. I need a good color for proverb. This is a new thing I'm about. This is the proverb. In the proverb, we use this in Trump bonus checks. We had 2 proverbs in Trump bonus checks, and these are just little expressions that summarize like the whole emotional appeal. The 2 proverbs in Trump bonus checks were disaster-proof income that you can depend on for life, and the second proverb that we had was, no matter what happens, Trump bonus checks will still go out. And we repeated those lines. Those were our proverbs that basically, like, this is what we're all about. So the proverb I have for this promo is this. I don't know if any other copywriter does this. They have big promises, but I don't know if they have proverbs like this where they just repeat this sort of sentiment over and over. Maybe they do, and I haven't really thought to label it yet, but this is a new label that I've kind of just come up with recently. So this is the proverb. So we're going to address the skepticism. I know this sounds a little crazy, but this is only possible thanks to a recent Wall Street shift. I don't like Wall Street shift. That's unlike anything I've ever seen in my 25-year career. I feel like that, can we punch this up? Wall Street shift is too vague. And recent Wall Street shift, also vague. We need more detail. We need more detail. Something to get me really invested in these things. All right, and then before I start dropping proof, there has to be a what's in it for me. Because I start dropping proof here, but why should you care? You know? Why should you care? And now I'll admit that this section of the copy, this is like the little intro, pattern, interrupt, and lead kind of part. I've kind of not really given this much thought. you know, to be 100% honest with you. Because in my mind's eye, that this lead was, the lead in the headline, you can tell I'm going to worry about last. I have to get all the proof in there, and then once I understand how I'm going to prove this argument, then I go back and tease it in the lead. I work backwards. I work backwards to the headline and then the lead, which is funny because everyone always says, like, can you write up a headline and lead? Like, it's the first thing you should write. And it's like, I don't even know what's going to be, how I'm going to prove this argument until it's written, and then I'll have all this new information that I want to put in the lead. Like, I think writing a headline and lead first is incredibly difficult. Like, your whole promo is to be written to write the headline and lead, in my opinion. Because what's your angle? Like, what's really the thing? You don't really know what it is until you've written it. In my experience, it could be different for different people. So that's kind of like how I would. This is the notes we've got so far. Now let's bust out the little notepad, right? So one of the things that we've already seen here that sucks is most of this. All right, so let's copy this up. And one of the things we wanted to do was, here it is, life's work. This proprietary timer isn't anywhere else in the world and has the power. So boom, we don't want to start with on the clock. We don't want to start with a term that nobody understands. This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to track, to predictably count down to incredible market paydays. A phenomenon I call a stock going on the clock, right? That's kind of like my gimmick, okay? Once a stock goes on the clock, all right, and then the next line. We can say, we've already seen windfalls from on the clock stocks like let's call this a powerful phenomenon. I call a stock going on the clock. And then we need to benefit in this. Here it is, my life's work. This proprietary timer isn't available anywhere else in the world and has the power to predictably count down to incredible market paydays. See, I think it's a little too, maybe it's a little too early to introduce that there. We've already seen windfalls worth this much, that much, and that much, right? It's a phenomenon I call a stock going on the clock, right? So I'm just playing with the words here. Like, it's the same, I'm saying the same thing, I'm just saying it in a bunch of different ways because I don't feel like it's very powerful the way it's written now. So we have some ideas here, right? Like, we need more teasing in here. This is too bulky and doesn't really have any emotion. So this all needs to be rewritten. Let's move along. Well, most investors will panic. So we got this piece of proof here, right? Financial Times says this trend shows no signs of abating. Institutional investors predicting a period of massive change and disruption. And while most investors will panic, folks with my proprietary timers could collect predictable. So ordinary folks, right? Ordinary folks with my proprietary timers. Ordinary folks with my proprietary timers could collect predictable market paydays like clockwork. With these breakthrough timers, it couldn't be simpler. So now we're on the easy emotion here, right? Simply wait for a stock to go on the clock, place a simple trade when the timer reaches 0, cash out a few days later with a potential fortune. Take a look at what happened with Global Blood Therapeutics. Right before the stock went on the clock, all the news around this medical stock was super negative. So, got a little echo here. Just say company. This company, it says probably why I said stock twice. Right before the stock went on the clock, all the news around this medical company was super negative. We can just say management here. We don't want echoes. We don't want awkward echoes. Right before this stock went on the clock, all the news around this medical company was super negative. Management had just abandoned half of its drug pipeline. Yep, this just seems very feeble. Okay, right before the stock went on the clock, all the news around this medical company was super negative. Management had just decided to abandon half of its drug pipeline. And we don't just say just decided. Management just, made the controversial decision, right? So management had just made the controversial decision to abandon half its drug pipeline. Earnings were already in the red, and analysts predicted things would get even worse. The pressure is on for GBT, one publisher wrote. Most investors would run for the hills on this stock, but on December 11th, the stock went on the clock, meaning a big Wall Street move was imminent. These are the kinds of events that can triple your money in just a matter of days. Triple your money or more in just a matter of days. All you had to do was wait for the timer to hit 0 and then place one simple trade. And this will be like part of the reading process. Then forget about the news, forget what the rest of the herd was up to, and maybe catch up on your favorite TV show. Because after my proprietary timer hit 0, the stock exploded, giving any regular Joe a shot at turning $1,000 into $3,450 in just 14 days. There's our chart. Isn't it crazy how easy that was? While most traders would have labeled this stock toxic or just outright panicked over the media coverage, I would dive in headfirst and take advantage of a powerful Wall Street trend very few people know about. You see, nobody but Wall Street insiders could have known about this inevitable explosion. Think about it. GBT's financials were in the toilet, and the media had nothing but bad things to report. But once this stock went on the clock, all you had to do was wait for the timer to reach 0, place one simple trade, and cash out 14 days later with a $3,450 payday. Because when you know what to look for, there is a reliable way to count down to moments just before. See, this is wordy. When you know what to look for, there is a reliable way to count down to moments just before explosive Wall Street moves are set to occur. Wow. Okay. When you know what to look for, this is the important part I'm trying to make. When you know what to look for, there is a reliable way. What a mouthful, huh? All right, let's see if I got any comments, questions. DW says, I've never heard the term on the clock, so that term alone makes me want to keep reading and see what that means. Is that term a well-known term, or am I just oblivious to it? No, I made it up. It's my gimmick. The gimmick is on the clock stocks. I made that up. Once they go on the clock, you can triple your money or more. Okay, so when you know what to look for, there is a reliable way. I hesitate to say time explosions. I feel like there might be some legal. Saying like you can time the markets is a very bold claim. Then again, we did the 25-cent trader, and she said all mega trends start at 10 a.m., right? When you know what to look for, there is a reliable way. Something like this, like it's going to be like time. Something, we have to communicate that sentiment, that this is predictable, right? That's what we're doing here. This is about predictability. That's the emotion we're targeting. I know because I've been on both sides of these events. I've been a broke college kid, so we got credibility here. So we haven't injected any cred in the opening scenes. We simply went ahead and tried to demonstrate that this works and you can make money. So right here, we're trying to shove a bunch of information about this phenomenon called the stock going on the clock, which is a mouthful, right? So it's going to take some finagling to make that seem very sexy. So I got all these notes here that, hell, in like 20 minutes, I won't remember what they mean. But well, we got a couple things going, you know. We've got we got a mechanism, we have a catalyst to justify it, to say, no, this is why this is happening now. This is why it's a new thing that you've never heard of. We'll talk about that more in a minute, right? And we got a proverb and a big promise, all in these first couple lines. Then the next thing I want to do is demonstrate the result. That's what we're doing next. We're demonstrating a result. We're kind of proving that this is a thing that it's real, it happens. So I immediately, like once I lay out my argument, this is all these first like 5 lines are about. If we pull up our swipe file and kind of go over some of the things, like that's what you want to do is you kind of want to go to, and I don't know if this might backfire on me if I start pulling out swipe files. Sometimes it does, where I'll be like, look at this. And then I'll be like, oh, that doesn't actually prove my point at all. Let me pick, all right, so here's the Alpha 9 Summit. Let's see what they do. I remember that was a very hypey one. Get ready. What you're seeing has never been seen before. We're inside the command center. Then they got the cred right there. Truly unprecedented. Tom's reigned on top of Wall Street for 25 years. This place is locked down tight. Like, look at all this hype. Welcome to the summit. I wonder if they introduced that mechanism or where. I'm not really familiar with this one as much as I should be. I'm talking about retire on the spot money. I really like that line. It's called Alpha 9. So there's your mechanism right there. Part supercomputer, artificial intelligence, quant trading algorithms. That's just teasing what it is, right? Double your money trading opportunity every day. Yeah. So there's your benefit. They spread this out a lot more because they've got this framed as like a live event where Mike Ward introduces him. So we're gonna have the opportunity to kind of do that here with this. This is a raw script with no like direction really put in yet. And I think it's gonna end up being an interview VSL like Money Map does with Mike Ward. There's another one I kind of want to look at. Let's look at Stansberry credit opportunities. This is one we did recently, where here they introduce a mechanism, the secret I think it is. They pull out this guy Rob. He introduces himself. Strange series of events, right? So strange series of events is sort of like the Wall Street shift that nobody knows. So maybe I'm being a little harsh on myself when I say strange Wall Street shift or something like that. Recent Wall Street shift. Maybe I'm being a little hard on myself and trying to be too creative, and this would just work just fine. Something very plain Jane. Don't worry, I'll explain everything, okay? And then he drops the cred really early. Then the mechanism down here. I discovered one idea that changed everything. I'm a reader like you. I don't work for Stansberry. Neither does my spouse, nothing like that. I read something that shocked me. So then they kind of drag you in. So what we got going on here is we got this mechanism. Once the stock goes on the clock, you can see big paydays. Here, let me show you how it works. We demonstrate that most folks were oblivious to this thing that was coming, right? And this also demonstrates that the only thing. So when we get down this line, we got our example. My proprietary timer hit 0, stock exploded. There's the chart. See how easy that was? So we're harping on a couple things here. We got easy here. But when we say, well, most traders, I would dive in first. This is only, right? This means only I know how to do this. You see, nobody but Wall Street insiders could know. This is all only as well. Just get rid of this, actually. But once the stock went on the clock, all you had to do, all right, so we do only, and then we tie it back to easy. Place one symbol trade, because when and then we go into predictable. Because it's so predictable, it's so reliable. I know because I've been on both sides of these events. And these events is too dry. Massive paydays is something a little more, it's still generic, but it's better. I've been a broke college kid, desperately trying to unlock the magical windfalls of trading, something like that, massive paydays. And I've been a hedge fund manager, overseeing the future of around $900 million in assets. Talk about high stakes. And while I'm not allowed to disclose their names, I can disclose I was personally requested by one of the wealthiest families in the world to manage and grow their personal fortune. So we have an echo here, I gotta get rid of that. My old business partners include Ivy League economists and even White House economic advisors. But I can say with certainty, these timers represent the most important achievement of my 25-year career, right? So it's big. And all of this is a cred building section. All right. They take advantage of a massive Wall Street trend that will permanently change the trading game forever. So we got the catalyst brought back up, right? The catalyst. And again, we got to get... Another thing that's really important is whenever you start talking about things, if I call it a shift, I can't call it a trend. I have to get on the same page with every time I bring this up, what it is and how I want to describe it. Okay. So take advantage of a massive Wall Street trend that will permanently change the trading game forever. And they have the power to unlock consistent opportunities to triple your money or more in just a matter of days. With these timers, okay, so what we've done here, now if I harp on this as well, we have the big promise here again on the next page. This is something I didn't realize I was actually doing, but your big promise needs to appear pretty frequently, especially early on. This whole page is just a chart, right? So this doesn't count. This page is all eaten up by images, but then as soon as I can, I drop the big promise once more. With these timers, you get in fast and get out fast. You never tie up your money for months at a time. I think I need to insert in the markets to kind of be a little more clear. So you can do this over and over again, okay? So this is an element of like predictable. So this has got like fast and predictable. And we're talking about explosive trends, so predictable, you can set your watch by them. Okay, so notice I'm really just overtly targeting the predictable emotion here. There's our proverb again in blue. As you're about to see, we've learned how to easily tap into gains like 4,090 in 14 days, 11,850 in 10 days, and even 21,500 in just 14 days. I'll explain how it works in just a second, but for now, just know that starting today, your days of living in the dark are over, for good. Thanks to my proprietary timers, Wall Street can't hide its monster trades from the little guy anymore. So now we are talking about monster trades. Okay. This is sort of... We're dealing with some inconsistencies, in my opinion. We've got monster trades, Wall Street trend, Wall Street shift. They need to get on the same page, and they need to be clear to the reader why it's beneficial to them. I know these are the placeholders for that phraseology whenever I figure it out, but right now it's just like all over the place. Okay, so I hope that me stopping to break everything apart is still useful, because I feel like it breaks the flow of the promo. But maybe what I'll do is I'll read a section and then we'll come back and edit it. Starting today, you have a shot at profits so predictable that you can set your watch by them. How close is that? Not bad. Okay, starting today, you have a shot at profits so predictable you can set your watch by them. And making money in the markets could become so simple. Just wait for a stock to go on the clock, place one simple trade when the timer hits 0, and cash out a few days later. Look what happened with Under Armour. Wasn't too long ago, this company was facing a lot of bad press. First, Under Armour reported a big fourth quarter loss of over $88 million. Then the company's stock took a hit when their fitness app, MyFitnessPal, had a security breach of 150 million users' private data. Major networks reported that Under Armour was blowing through cash to keep up with Nike and Adidas. And Dick's Sporting Goods actually blamed Under Armour for its own poor performance, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. Soon after that, Under Armour announced they were cutting over 400 jobs just to save money. It sounds like it couldn't get any worse for Under Armour, but then, right after that massive 400 job layoff, Under Armour stock went on the clock, and my proprietary timer began the countdown. At that very moment, all the bad news became irrelevant, because the timer knew a massive Wall Street move was sure to happen soon. As the timer counts down, the worst thing you can do is listen to negative headlines and talking heads on TV. It wasn't long before the timer hit zero and the stock inevitably blasted off. And had you placed one simple trade, you could have watched a $1,000 investment transform into $3,910 in just 10 days. That's around 3 times more than the average Social Security check, and you'd barely lift a finger for it. No complicated planning, no boring spreadsheets, because the proprietary timer only has one job: to count down to the moment it expects a stock to start soaring. Are you starting to see how this simple system could make anyone very wealthy? Listen, there's never been anything like this before. My timers consistently spot opportunities to triple your money over and over again, at least one every single week. With 3x wins stacking over and over, the money compounds quick. Take a look at what happened with Palo Alto Networks. Okay. I have to pause there. Take a look at what happened with Palo Alto Networks. I'll come back to that. At the time, analysts had a lot of concerns with the stock. They said the stock was way too expensive. It couldn't go any higher. They bickered the company was using slapshot accounting that bolstered its stock price, and that their market, cybersecurity, didn't have nearly enough customers to grow, since powerful firewalls have basically become standard. But shortly after these reports were issued, the stock would have went on the clock, meaning a big move in the stock was imminent. And had you placed a trade when the timer hit zero, you would have watched $1,000 turn into $4,000 in just 1 week. Imagine that in just 7 days, you could cover all your month's bills and have some left over to buy a nice jacket, wear it out for expensive dinner. I hope you see how simple this is. When a stock goes on the clock, you could triple your money or more in just a matter of days. Okay, so I think I want to come back and see there's a couple things I noticed. So this is too long. I think Under Armour's was too long too. I think I can cut one of these things. It's just too damn long. I think there's another thing I noticed. So this is a claim, and then I have incongruent proof. Like, my claim is about how you can compound your money over and over again. Timers consistently spot opportunities to triple your money over and over again, at least one every week. I should be talking about that then. Like, this is my claim. I don't talk about how you can make money from stock pops once every week. So I've got this claim here that's floating in the middle of the copy. So what I could really do is I can just cut that. I can just delete that, right? It doesn't have any purpose if there's no proof right behind it. I can change it so that I have a claim that makes more sense here. Something like, I think what I was trying to do is, look, you get 7 days. So I should change my claim to match the proof. So the claim should be doesn't take more than a week. So I have the proof. Now I need to set up a claim around it. So I should say, my timers consistently spawn opportunities to triple your money over and over again. And sometimes it doesn't take more than a week to cash out with huge paydays. Take a look at Palo Alto Networks. And then we get down here and it says in just 7 days. So that makes sense now. It's congruent, it's consistent. So that's better copy, because now I've got objection, but there's no objection. The objection implied is, could this take a long time? Then the claim is, it doesn't take a long time. It takes a week or less. and then I have a piece of proof here. Bam. And then again, once we do that, we revisit how easy this is. In some cases, you could see your money quadruple in less than a week. And the stuff that I'm doing here, just for anyone interested or curious, when we do one-on-one copy consults, I don't really advertise them. But when I do one-on-one copy consults with When I do one-on-one copy consults with people, this is essentially what I do. I'm not recording this on my OBS. I swear to God if this doesn't record. So what I do is basically go through the promo like this and pick it apart, okay? And so if you want a one-on-one copy consult, we can do stuff like this together. And I can help you sharpen your copy because every single word matters. And I think that's really important. Otherwise, you can just bring your copy to the weekly, bi-weekly conference calls and we can talk about it at a higher level. But if you want this kind of deep dive, you got to get a one-on-one. Okay, moving on. In some cases, here's another, okay, cool. Here's a claim, and it's a very similar claim. In some cases, you could see your money quadruple in less than a week. All right, so up here, our claim is, my timers consistently spot opportunities to triple your money over and over again, at least one every single week. So down here, we've got 1,000 turns into 4. Well, that's quadruple. So now my claim, damn, I'm making too much money. Okay, so this is 4,000 in 4 days. Okay, so here's what we do. My timers consistently spot opportunities to triple your money over and over again, at least one every single week. Sometimes you can quadruple your money and it only takes a week. So instead of being a time, we even see 4x in just 1 week. All right, claim should be, we even see chances to 4x in just a week. Take a look at Palo Alto Networks. We would have to reiterate our claim, 4x in 7 days. We want to remind them of the claim that we just made, because the next thing we're going to say, when a stock goes in the clock, you could triple your money or more in just a matter of days. So instead of this, we get rid of this line. You've now seen that you can 4x in 7 days, but sometimes, in some cases, you could quadruple in less than a week. And I could probably do less in all caps, right? Like, in less than a week. Check out what happened with Kimberly-Clark, the company behind global consumer brands like Huggies and Kleenex. While the broader market was climbing higher and higher, this stock managed to sink lower and lower. Demand was tanking as customers shifted. Demand was tanking as customers shifted more toward online shopping. And because of rising materials costs, the company struggled with shrinking profit margins. But it wasn't important. But none of that mattered, because look what happened on July 31st. A big move was imminent. And had you placed a simple trade on KMB, if you had placed a simple trade on KMB, you'd have seen $1,000 turn into $4,000 in just 4 days. It's like making $1,000 every single day. With $1,000, you could lease a different BMW every single day. Or maybe you just pay off the car you already have. Maybe go on a trip to somewhere exotic. With $1,000 a day, you could live, I'm just going nuts with reframes here. With $1,000 a day, you could live like a Caesar in some parts of the world. You could have cooks and servants and even personal masseuse. And your money would only be tied up for 4 days. It should have been something more like, to make this, your money would only be tied up for 4 days. Making 4x your money in 4 days is great, but after more testing, we discovered that if you're okay with a 2-week holding period, you could see massive payouts as high as $10,000, $11,000, even $12,000. With my timers, your days of guessing when to get in a trade are over. and you'll have a shot at making thousands of dollars week in and week out. I'm talking about explosions so predictable, you can set your watch by them. Okay, so notice that the proverb is starting to come up every couple pages. Okay, really enforcing or reinforcing this idea that this is very, very, very predictable. Okay, so next, look 5 below. Look at 5 below, a discount retailer that sells items for teens below $5. Teens below $5. Let's just say yeah, just get rid of this. Get rid of the word teens here. It's just confusing. Look at 5 below, a discount retailer that sells items for below $5. The chairman of the board had just executed the biggest insider sell-off in the previous 12 months, signaling the stock might be at its peak. And then the stock okay, let me just read it. The chairman of the board had just executed the biggest insider sell-off in the previous 12 months, signaling the stock might be at its peak. And then the stock fell after announcing seasonal sales figures. But then guess what happened? Yeah, this sentence sucks. I think the problem is, let's see. Yeah, I just gotta, this sentence sucks, just need to change it. But then guess what happened? On March 28th, the stock would have went on the clock. And had you made a move when the timer hit 0, you could have seen a simple $1,000 investment explode into a monster $10,930 payday in just 14 days. The chart. Is there an easier way to pocket 5 figures? The stock goes on the clock and you could cash out huge. Imagine $10,000 just dropped in your lap. Would you spend it on yourself or use it on a gift? With 10 grand, you could buy a new 4-wheeler for you and a friend and go cruising. But we're not done yet. Check out Cheesecake Factory. So this is easy. And this is just a little reframe. It's, hey, if you guys have good reframes for $10,000, let me know in the comments or something like that. Because I can never, I ran out of reframes as I was doing this. I was coming up with like, what could I spend $10,000 on? Check out Cheesecake Factory. The stock had floundered for months, shedding value every day. Then on October 27th, a big move was in the making, and shares shot through the roof, giving anybody in position the chance to transform $1,000 into $11,500 in just 11 days. Another 5-figure payday. Maybe you donate some of this extra cash, or finally pay off those darn credit cards, or just disappear for a couple weeks. Maybe a cruise. Whatever you decide, that $11,000 was yours to do with as you please. Place a trade when the timer hits 0. Walk away with 11 grand in less than 2 weeks. Now look at Trade Desk Inc. The company's shares tumbled over 13% after an earnings announcement. But guess how much that mattered on November 9? Once again, another big move went in the works. And had you placed a simple $1,000 trade, you could have seen your money explode into a massive $12,850 payday in just 13 days. That's right, over 12 grand in just days. Not years, not months, not even a full 2 weeks. Would you redo your old roof? Would you fix up your front porch? Or maybe you would finally hire someone to take care of your lawn. Now, what if you decided to invest $5,000? That would have turned into $64,000 in 13 days, more than most folks make in a whole year, and enough to buy a new convertible Stingray Corvette. But you wouldn't have to risk your life savings or be at the mercy of the markets for months and months. You simply wait for the timer to hit 0, get in, get out, get paid. Can you see why these timers are so powerful? We're talking about explosions so predictable, you can set your watch by them. Each time a stock goes on the clock, you have the opportunity to at a minimum triple your money or more in 3 weeks or less. So what's really cool, this is believable now. Because we've shown 4x gains twice, and then we showed people making 5 figures, 1,000 to 10,000. So we've seen 4x and 10x. So this is totally on the level now. Like, yeah, I believe that. You can make 3x, no big deal. Absolutely, it's easy. So, and as you just saw, the gains will be much higher than 3x, and they don't have to take even 2 weeks. All right, now we've got some new info. In fact, our back-tested results delivered an average gain of 394%. Okay, so this specificity is to make it seem more real. In fact, our back-tested results delivered an average gain of 394.17% in just 12.38 days. So that's like a, oh wow, they've done the math kind of answer. With gains like that, the money could compound very, very quickly. And in just a second, I'll show you how a small starting stake, so this is a claim. In just a second, I'll show you how a small starting stake could snowball into a multi-million-dollar fortune in just 2 months by showing you real trade examples. Okay, so what I've done here is that compound line I had earlier in the promo that didn't really fit. It's actually here again. I think maybe what had happened was I meant to make a claim like this, but I made it too early, and I forgot to delete it. I'm not sure. But so what we have here now is, we have an open loop. So instead of addressing this claim with proof right away, we have the proof coming in the open loop. But listen, there is something we should address. If you've ever struggled to make money in the markets, if you've ever jumped on a hot trade just to see it go nowhere, or if you've ever gotten in a trade after the big gains had already been made, leaving you with nothing, it's not your fault. It's not because you're bad with money. It's not because you're a bad trader. And you're probably a smarter investor than the guys making predictions on TV. The problem is most folks, so what we have here is our key insight section. Okay, so I want to, what's our time? 50 minutes? Let's go a little deeper here. Key insight. Okay. So we got it's not your fault. The problem is most folks, right? When you see this, the problem is most folks have no clue. That's when you have a key insight. What's the thing that nobody else knows that you know, right? Okay, and then we'll have to explain why they have no clue. Like, why haven't you heard? So, oh yeah, what I wanted to say here, got the orange. This is it. This is the end of the lead. All right, so this is a really long lead, and I think it's because, I can say that this is all the lead. It's because there are, I want to say 7 pieces of proof before I get to introducing, like, the key insight. So I introduced cred early, and instead of just dropping it as, I've been doing this for 25 years, I drop it as a little snippet about his past. Try to give it a little more power. I think the cred actually does come late, but I had to make a decision. Do I want to jump into cred first, or do I want to jump into the results first? And I decided at this point to jump into the results first, to demonstrate the result and then the cred. I could flip-flop these 2 sections. You could just copy this whole thing out, pull it out, and put it above this example. Wouldn't be a problem at all. But I like the way it works here, where I get them salivating first, and then I talk about why I know, and then I start to go into these pieces of proof. Now, earlier I noted that this was too long, and another one was too long. That's another reason why our lead lasts for 14 pages. The lead should last about 7 pages, so it's about twice too long. It's not a big deal. We're in a draft mode, so it's okay to find these errors and fix them. But another thing is the charts themselves occupy an entire page. So we don't really have 14 pages worth of copy. It's these charts, I just copied and pasted them into the promo. They occupy too much space. So I think with some minor clipping, we can bring this whole thing down, I don't know, a page, maybe a page or so. And now we're into the key insight. So now we got to start proving our point. Once you end the lead, we begin body copy. And now we're making our argument about, okay, I've shown you a result, I've built the hype, prove it. That's what we do from here on. From here on, we're just proving it. So let's start with the key insight. And I'm going to go, we got 53 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and go a little bit past 1 hour, and then, see how that works for the thingy. Okay, it's not like you're bad with money. Okay, and this is about, instead of just saying it's not your fault, like I'm telling them, like, hey, I'm going a little bit deeper here and giving like, hey, buddy, hey, it's not your fault, buddy. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing here. We're pampering them a little bit. The problem is most folks have no clue about a powerful Wall Street trend. Okay, there it is again, right? There it is again as a trend. So this catalyst, we're going to explain the catalyst. The catalyst is the key insight. Once you understand this trend, you understand why this is possible. But it's inconsistent. Is it a trend? Is it a shift? Is it a move? What is it? We got to figure that out. The problem is most folks have no clue about a powerful Wall Street trend that has been quietly picking up steam over the last year. But the fact is, this trend has become increasingly critical to making any money in the markets. And it just hit a tipping point a few months ago. You see, it used to be that there were institutional and retail investors, elephants, and the little people. But it's not that way anymore. I wonder if I should call this like the little guy. That way I stay consistent, because I'm going to call him the little guy later. Again, it's about consistency, man. The more terms, the more confusing it becomes. But it's not that way anymore. Now there are Wall Street elephants, the little guy, and Wall Street whales. The whales are a new phenomenon. During the first 3 months of the year, their influence exploded. So let's not say influence. Their market influence exploded by more than 70% compared to last year. And the Financial Times reported that some whales are 72 times larger than some Wall Street elephants, probably a better word. And the Financial Times reported that some whales are 72 times larger than the Wall Street elephants. That's what works. Let's leave it like that. The implications for the market and consumers are huge, says the Financial Times. With enough size, Investopedia says Wall Street whales have the power to move a stock's price regardless of the fundamentals, which is why it doesn't matter how the company is doing on paper, and it doesn't matter what the media is saying. When Wall Street whales get involved, it's a foregone conclusion that the stock is moving, even if all your research points in the other direction. For instance, so there's our key insight, right? Like, this is the trend. Actually, I should circle that in purple. Like, I've identified the catalyst here, okay? Yeah, so this is the big key insight. The Wall Street whales have emerged and they have the power to move markets. For instance, now we're going to prove that. This is also a claim. Right, claim. And now we have to prove that. Prove that claim. Okay, for instance, look what happened with Roku. Roku is one of the few cord-cutting TV services that still hasn't produced any original content. Analysts worried something about this. I feel like I need some sort of verb there. Analysts were worried that with increased competition by new streaming services like Disney, AT&T, NBC, and CBS, not to mention Hulu and Netflix, that the company simply had no competitive advantage. And maybe they were right. Maybe years down the line, Roku might go bankrupt. But that doesn't matter for us, because on July 16th, Roku would have went on the clock, meaning a Wall Street whale was about to make a move. There's no way of knowing exactly why the whales jumped on Roku. All that matters is the activity that caused the stock to go on the clock. And if you placed a trade when the timer hit 0, you could turn off the news, go for a walk, read a book, or call up an old friend or relative, because just like clockwork, the stock took off. And no matter what the media or research was saying, $1,000 would have turned into $4,000 in just 10 days. $4,000 is more money than some middle-class families bring home in a month. But this is real cash you could have held in your hands in just 10 days, with no time wasted plowing through news stories or rumors. Or even, that's why I didn't put or there. With no time wasted plowing through news stories, rumors. So we'll put comma there. This is a very aggressive comma. news stories, rumors, or even excruciating financial ratios. Just cold hard cash and maybe a nice cold drink to celebrate. Remember, okay, so I haven't dropped the proverb in a while, so what you see with this line here, anytime you do this, you can say anything. If you say the word remember or by the way, you can put whatever you want in the copy, which is what I did here. I was like, hey, I haven't said the proverb in a couple lines or pages. I need to drop it now. Remember, we're talking about explosions so predictable you can set your watch by them. $4,000 in 10 days is equivalent of $12,000 per month. With that sort of regular income, you have the freedom to spend your time doing whatever makes you happy. For you, it might be getting an extra game of golf every week, or trading in your old car for a shinier, faster one, or maybe you just enjoy the thrill of collecting win after win after win. Think about what you do with an extra $12,000 every month, because for the past 40 years, if you're wondering about these highlights, that's where I've told myself a blue highlight means come back to this and when I'm writing the copy. So that's just all that means. Just come back and rethink. I think it was like I wanted to figure out more reframes for this section. Think about what you do for an extra $12,000 every month, because for the past 40 years, big institutions have been able to hide their trades, but not anymore. The truth is, Wall Street doesn't want you to know what they're up to. Okay. So what we have here is why haven't I heard? Okay, so we have to answer that. Like, okay, so there's a big trend. There's these whales. How come nobody else is talking about these whales, right? Well, for the past 40 years, big institutions have been able to hide their trades, but not anymore. The truth is, Wall Street doesn't want you to know. That's your claim. Because if the little guy knew how to piggyback Wall Street trades, the brokers would lose millions in fees. That is boilerplate copy. Like, that's just so basic and easy to say. Wall Street doesn't want you to know because Wall Street would lose some money. You can drop that explanation pretty much all the time, and it just always plays. It just works. So that's what we did. I mean, I admit this. I think this is semi-lazy copy on my part, but it works. Okay, because if the little guy knew how to piggyback Wall Street trades, the brokers would lose millions in fees. Most folks don't realize that Wall Street has all kinds of tricks to hide their trades. They invest slowly and use a complicated web of backdoor dealings that take place off the public radar, which allows them to make massive trades of tens of thousands of shares in secret and get in position for prices way below what the average investor pays. So you see, the game is completely rigged to keep the little guy in the dark and paying inflated fees. Should I put broker fees? And paying inflated broker fees. That's why so many Main Street investors lose money, even when they do their research, comb through spreadsheets, and spend hours and hours in front of their computer. Does that seem fair to you? Of course not. But that all ends today. Now, any average Joe can have the chance at tripling their money or more in just days, because for the first time in history, I'm pulling the curtain back on my breakthrough timers. Okay, so let me kind of explain what just happened a little bit. We got a claim, right? There's our claim. And then here's our... I got mail. Okay, hold on a second.
Oh yeah, your mail will be delivered.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Something from my City of Boca stuff for Copy Squad LLC. Okay, cool. So what were we talking about? All right, resuming. Okay, so the claim, why haven't I heard, is the objection. The claim is they don't want you to know. That's why you haven't heard. Because if you knew, they would lose millions in fees. So they have proof times 2. Okay, so this is kind of my argument, and this is my proof. They invest slowly and use a complicated web of backdoor dealings. So what I'm talking about here is block trading and like accumulation, where they're trading like 10,000 shares a day, and if they want 100,000 shares, they trade it over 10 days. That's a slow trade, right? They don't buy it all at once. And then the other thing are these things called dark pools. When I call these backdoor dealings, these are dark pools. These are a real thing. There was actually one of the promos I broke down on my YouTube channel was it called Dark Money Trader? But that was about dark pools. I think I did 2 dark pools promos, and on my YouTube channel, at least one, if not 2. I can't remember now, but yeah. So these are a real thing that have been used in promos before. So it allows them to make a bunch of money. It's not fair. Does that seem fair to you? Of course not. It ends today. Okay. So now we have a new claim here, right? We kind of have like we're setting up the next section. But the claim is really, it's like a fake claim. This is really an open loop. Okay, so now what we've done is we have covered the gamut when it comes to the catalyst. Like, the catalyst is addressed. We know that there's a big shift called Wall Street whales, and we know why we haven't heard about it, okay? We know about the catalyst now. It's done. It's dead. So what keeps them reading? Okay, the open loop is now about the mechanism. So I have to remind them that I have these timers that you don't understand how they work. Okay, so the catalyst is addressed here. We're done. We've laid it to rest. We've explained what it is and why you haven't heard. So now the next thing you're wondering is, okay, there's a thing happening. I haven't heard about it because they don't want me to. So how are we taking advantage of it? That's the next question that's on their mind. So you have to remind them, hey, I'm pulling back the curtain on my breakthrough timers. This is simply an open loop. And now we're going into the True Blue Guru credibility section. My name, as I mentioned, is Roger Scott. Over the past 25 years, I've had a lot of success in the markets, but I began, like most folks did, square one. Okay, so this is kind of our hero's journey, sort of like anybody, right? I started trading in college after receiving $5,000 settlement from a car accident. I put every spare penny in the markets and sat in Barnes & Nobles for 4 or 5 hours a day, just reading about trading. Most of the other traders in the store were frustrated by losses and kept buying books in the economics section. Even though they seemed very knowledgeable about the markets and the economy, those guys were always broke. Then there were 1 or 2 other guys who were making real money. I like the word here, other guys. Then there were 1 or 2 other guys who were making real money. They didn't talk about market sentiment or economics, and they only read books from the programming and software sections. That's when I realized the economics guys paid attention to the news and the media, while the programming guys were building models and predicting money flows. So one of the things I've noticed in the most successful promos is the credibility section. Here's some good credibility section notes for you. Credibility sections have 2 things: a discovery story, how you discovered today's opportunity, and that usually comes second, actually. Well, let's just say 1. And then 2, the cred directly ties to theme. Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God. Okay. The cred directly ties to the theme. And I think this is really important in a way that if we're going to be talking about a system that times the markets and we're ignoring the news, I have to tie that into his credibility story. So I do that by like this, basically. Like, cred ties into the theme. And I talk about, well, we're ignoring the news. You know, we don't care about that stuff. What we care about is something else. So what is it? So the economics guys paid attention to the news. Programming guys were building models. So I started reading the programming books. And in a couple months, I turned my $5,000 into $37,000. I was still a college kid at the time, but I got better and better. And a few years later, I started a fund with an Ivy League trader, a man who advised Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and later became the chief economist for President Trump. We managed millions of dollars, and at first our fund was growing fine, but then we ran into a problem. I knew we could grow the fund faster. He wanted to trade using his Ivy League education in economics, and I wanted to trade using the systems I had built by reading Barnes & Noble programming books. He scoffed at the idea. The systems I built had no Ivy League pedigree and flew in the face of his education. So we each traded using our own methods, and after 2 years, we both made our fund more money. But my systems made 25 times more money, so we agreed to trade using my systems instead of headlines. I went on to work with some of the best traders in the world. So this is that, this is the theme. I went on to work with some of the best traders in the world, including one of Richard, Prince of the Pit Dennis's original trading turtles, a man who earned $175 million in profits in 5 years. This term, trading turtles, I kept this in here. I thought about getting rid of it, but the trading turtles is a thing that I think the average guy doesn't know about, but traders would know about. And I think this will give the traders like a tip of the hat sort of thing, like, yeah, I speak the lingo, I know what I'm talking about kind of deal. And when they see this, and if they're actually a person who trades, they'll be like, okay, there's some strong legitimacy here now. And I think that's important for being able to really hit those people who are like info junkies who kind of know everything and they are very analytical, right? Okay, so this will help with that. Over a 10-year period, I turned $20 million into roughly $900 million. I was invited on CNBC, The Street, Fox Business, Bloomberg. I created systems for futures, currencies, options, stocks, you name it, I created a trading system for it. I once held a futures position so large, the government forced me to unwind it. Morgan Stanley even tried to buy my systems for millions of dollars. I worked hard for 25 years, and I've come a long way from a college kid reading books in Barnes & Noble. But even with all my past success, I've never... So this is boilerplate transition copy. Like, this is simple. Anybody can do this. Once you finish talking about your credibility, boilerplate. Okay? Even with all my... let me write the word transition here. You don't have to be clever to make this transition. I've never created a system as powerful or predictive as what I have done with my proprietary timers. So this is big, right? Now, here's our discovery story. Right on the heels of credibility. I didn't feel right selling my system to Morgan Stanley, so I rejected their offer. I knew too much about the rigged system, and I was tired of making the rich even richer. I knew if I could use my system's experience to decode how Wall Street makes its trades. I wonder if I could put Wall Street whales, but Wall Street whales are new. That's why I didn't put it there. I knew if I could use my system trading experience. I knew if I could use my system trading experience to decode how Wall Street makes its trades, I could help regular folks piggyback Wall Street's biggest moves. I had the money and I had the time, so I hired the smartest people I could, a team of two MIT math whizzes and an aeronautics specialist, and the four of us dug into it. We performed over 4,000 back tests, tried various iterations and different formulas, and I even invested tons of my own money in dozens of trading algorithms and strategies. So what this is called blood, sweat, and tears. And it's not called blood, sweat, and tears anywhere else. That's kind of like my little word for it. Whenever you're doing your discovery story, we want to see that blood, sweat, and tears somewhere. If I had more information, I would have stacked it in there. Finally, after years of testing and retesting, we discovered a predictive tell that could tip off the little guy to upcoming Wall Street moves. With the proprietary formula, we discovered we could count down to when Wall Street moves would impact certain stocks. And it worked. At first, I could hardly believe it. Had we really cracked the code? Then we found that just this year, you could have watched a simple $1,000 turn into $4,000 from Roku in 10 days, $4,000 from HMSY, $5,000 from MRTX, $4,000 from GH, $10,000 from 5, $7,000 from FL in 13 days, $3,200 from CVNA in 14 days. Okay, we really had cracked the code, I thought. These were explosions so predictable, you could set your watch by them. Proverb. Look, after 25 years of being in this business, I'm fully aware. Okay, so I don't have the benefit of a legal team the size of Agora's anymore. As a matter of fact, we won't be running this through any dedicated legal team like we do at Agora. So I have to drop my own legal hedge to save my butt and the company's butt. So here's my legal hedge. Look, after 25 years of being in this business, I am fully aware that there are no 100% guarantees in the stock market, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results. But have you ever seen such consistent and easy money in your life? Remember, when we do a legal hedge, this is how you do it. You do the hedge, okay? And then you do but still. Okay? That's how you hedge. Simple. It's so basic. I don't think so. The truth is, if you can't triple your money, I don't want anything to do with it. All right, so we're boiling up another claim over here, it looks like. The truth is, if it can't triple your money, I don't want anything to do with it. And if you have to hold a trade longer than 3 weeks, it's not an explosion at all. And we don't want it. I've struggled so hard with this. It's not an explosion at all. It's a crawl. I don't know what do I call it? What do you think I should call this? That's more like a crawl. I don't know what to put here. I'm not sure, so I'm throwing myself at the mercy of the spectators and folks who want to tell me what to put here. We found that with my proprietary timers, you could at a minimum triple your money in 3 weeks or less. I did the mistake that I see other copywriters do in my group. This needs to go here. Right there. This is in the wrong place. This should go right there. Then it's to say, the truth is, it's a crawl. Okay, so this needs to go there too. And then we can bring back our back tested. So this is one of those, this is one of my power stats. You know, I'm making this term up. When we did the V3 trader, you notice they just kept dropping 94%, 94%, 94%, 94%. They dropped it. It was 94% accurate. They dropped it like 3 times on a page once. So this is like a power stat. Like, what stat can we continually come back to where we can just like drop this stat and be like, wow, you know? So this is my power stat. Because our back tested results, and you'll notice I'm doing a lot of legal hedging throughout here. I mentioned legal. Back tested results, I do like stuff like this. Had the ability to deliver an average gain of this much in 12 days. That's nearly 4 extra money in less than 2 weeks, like clockwork. That means just investing $5,000 in the average trade, you could collect a bi-weekly payout. So even this, in the average trade, this is a legal hedge. All these little things, I do a lot of legal hedging in this because, again, I'm not working with a team of legal people like I do at Agora. Take a look at what happened with, okay, so what we got now. All right, this is a claim. This is kind of like a claim. This is the brewing or the workings of a claim. This is the claim. This is the claim stated directly, all right? So we'll call this an implied, all right? This is an implied claim. And then this is the claim directly stated, okay? Now what we're doing is we're going to prove that claim. Okay? Let's see where we're at now in time. 1:19. All right. I think what we'll do This is going to be 3 pieces of proof. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think we got, if we knock out all the things that we struggled with at the beginning and all this stuff that I've noted for myself, I think we'll have a winner, a pretty decent promo on our hands. I hesitate to call it a winner because I've had things I was certain were winners that didn't win. But yeah, so this is it, man. This is this is the process. I wrote this sucker. Let me show you how this works too. Documents, promos. So this is my draft list. Okay, so here's our draft list. I'll show you this. But the truth is, like, this draft, this draft, this draft, I would say all the drafts up till, hell, probably the 12th. This is probably one draft that I threw away. And then these 3 are probably one draft that I threw away. And then I finally started a new draft. And who knows how long these guys were. But that's what it is. This is the rewriting process. This is how many times I've like basically written this promo. And today we're at this version here, right? Marked up. And I'm going to do some editing to this. I have a call. It's 2:20 right now. At 3 p.m. I have a call with Rob Braddock and a guy named Connor who works at Wealth Press to talk about how we can improve upon what we got here. And I think really I'd be interested to hear what they have about the offer section. But I think the stuff that we just noticed and spotted, the inconsistencies of the catalyst. Like, the catalyst is boring in my opinion. It's boring, it's dull, it doesn't really say anything. There's nothing exciting about the catalyst. Like this, and this is why the lead, in my opinion, goes last. Because if you look at what we're looking at here, this mess, it isn't going to make sense, and I won't be able to properly present the lead until I figure out this stuff that comes later in the promo. Like, what is this catalyst? Like, how do I really want to present that? And that'll completely transform the lead. So the lead is something I'm probably going to write last, and the headline I'll write last when I try to figure out how is this all ironic, right? And maybe I'll just call it On the Clock Stock Summit. I don't know. But that's it, man. I had this idea. I was talking to another copywriter about, like, I want to review this, and I was thinking about doing it as our sales letter breakdown, and he said it would be very helpful. So let me know if it was helpful. I don't think we've ever done like a full-on breakdown. I've broken down my own copy before, but never broken down a in-progress promo like this. So I'm hoping you got some cool stuff out of it. I know I did. You basically watched me at work. This is my job. I've never done it like this either, like with the pen and a PDF. I usually just start typing, right? And I think having a chance to kind of take a step back, and I can't really just edit everything. Not being able to edit everything has made it a lot easier to kind of just get through all the promo and mark up the areas of opportunity. And I think that's a takeaway. Like, I would have sat here and tweaked this Under Armour section. See, I say it's too long. I probably could have spent like 30 minutes just tinkering with that, right? But instead, I couldn't do that because it's a PDF. So that might be a thing. Like, instead of you working and reworking the actual copy, like, you just take notes on the margins like we're doing here, okay? So let me see if I got any last comments or questions or anything, and I'm going to sign off. Nope, nothing coming through. All right, Copy Squad. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really do hope that you found this useful. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this. Peace out, Copy Squad.